Thanks for staying with us. Let's go to this conversation now. Former Constitutional Court Justice and South African activist Justice Albie Sachs has been honoured for his fight for justice. The Clooney Foundation for Justice, ran by Hollywood actor and director George Clooney and his wife, British-Lebanese barrister Amal Clooney, named its inaugural award after him. The Albie Awards are for a group of people across the world whose relentless fight for justice has put their lives at risk. Activist and former Constitutional Court Judge Albie Sachs joins us for more on this honour. Justice, thank you so much for your time, and honour to speak to you this afternoon. This must be a huge, huge honour for you.
It's a huge and rather unbelievable honour for me, but I think it's an honour for South Africa, for our judges, and for all those people who fought for justice. You know, I think of people like Griffiths Mkenge, who was assassinated, a wonderful lawyer. I think of Bram Fischer. I think of Nelson Mandela, 27 years in jail, a great lawyer, Oliver Tambo. So I'm, if you like, the living survivor of that generation of freedom fighters who believed in the possibilities of law, who fought for justice.
And the organizers, when asked, they say that they decided to create, an awards show for people who are in jeopardy of going to jail and being killed in the fight for justice, and trying to make it harder for them to be jailed or, even killed. Looking at your work, as you've just described now, even from that particular generation, I wonder, for you, what does your involvement then mean in this particular fight?
I think what they're saying is Amal Clooney is a very brilliant, very strong barrister in London, forthright, and she's a fighter. It's more than just fighting for human rights in an abstract way. She's a fighter for justice, and she married George Clooney, who's a brilliant actor, with a very simpatico person. People like him, and he's been concerned with international issues for quite a long time. They make an amazing couple, and they wanted to reward not just people who are clever lawyers, who are thoughtful people, who maybe deserve admiration. They want people who put themselves on the line in different contexts, in different countries, and maybe because in my case, my trauma, having lost my arm to a bomb planted by apartheid agents when I was in exile in Mozambique, I'm, if you like, a visible exemplar of somebody who paid a personal price. And I think of all the other people where you can't see the trauma, people who suffered mentally, internally, and we had thousands and thousands in our country, were still impacted upon by what they went through. In my case, it's visible. But I feel very joyous that they've chosen me as a South African lawyer. Not only me, but they've, if you like, appropriated my first name, Albie, calling the awards for all the other people in the years to come, the Albies. My head's still a little bit spinning at that idea. I know there are lots of other Albies in South Africa who weren't in the struggle, but they might be smiling today that their name is going to be held aloft, associated with people who have invested themselves in the struggle for justice.
And what difference are you hoping that these awards then make around the world, particularly in the fight for justice?
Well, it's pointing out not only that there are injustices in the world, it's not only naming and shaming, it's pointing out that there are people throughout the world who are fighting for justice. It's a form of acknowledgement and recognition, not only for those individuals, but for all the people in all the different countries who want to see a more just world, and who feel that law and the legal system can be used for oppression, but it can also be used for emancipation, for enabling everybody to lead dignified lives. So I think it's part and parcel of people in many countries, in many different ways, struggling for greater justice. They are using the international acknowledgement, recognition that they have, the funds that they can raise, their intelligence, their empathy, and their skills to encourage people throughout the world, and also in a way to say thank you to the judges, judiciary in South Africa, who I think have been doing amazing work. I speak without embarrassment or unabashedly about our constitutional court. It's held in huge esteem throughout the world by judges everywhere else. And I think I am, if you like, appointed to bear the title, the name, not only for the struggle against apartheid, but for the struggle to make the Constitution real in the lives of people in South Africa. And it's become a beacon for freedom fighters, people seeking justice in our country and throughout the world.
And Justice Sachs, I can't help but ask you this. I mean, you're someone that's fought against apartheid, yet here we are as a country, 28 years on, we are seeing a video emerging out of Stellenbosch University of a white student peeing on a laptop and study material of a black student. Surely this sets us back. I wonder what was your reaction when you saw that?
You know, my reaction first is horror, and then kind of joy. The joy is not it's that ugly act. The joy is it's being denounced across the board as something unconscionable, unthinkable. You know, the whole culture in our country has turned things upside down. And what used to be seen as pranks, initiation rites and ugly masculinity in the universities is just not acceptable now. And this being given an overt, ugly, dreadful, racial, aberrant format, it's seen as all that. So we expose, we denounce attempts, I believe, are being made to bring the fathers of the two people together. That will be quite marvelous if that could happen, if the fathers are up to it, to try and not just regard this as a trivial incident that's just in passing, let it go, expel the boy and the thing is over. It's dealing with something deeper, more profound. It's opened it up and let that ugly act now become a trigger for concerted actions to denounce, expose racism, and to bring people together in a very kind of positive way, an affirmation of the vision in our Constitution. Let that become the way people conduct themselves in our society.
And Justice Sachs, another matter that really has got public, condemnation and really should be, is also looking at the fact that these awards, talking about the fight, for justice, they come at a time where we saw the killing of Shireen Abu Akleh, who is a journalist for Al Jazeera.
One of the awardees, in fact, is a journalist. She's from the Philippines. Maria Aras, I think her name is, very, very brilliant. And she will, as I'm speaking now for the people fighting for justice in the legal sphere, she will be representing the journalists who fought in different countries. And I think this last year has seen more journalists lose their lives to state terror and repression than ever. So you guys are, in that sense, in the front line.
Justice Sachs, thank you so much for your time this afternoon, and certainly a befitting honor. Thank you so much for talking to us about these awards and what they mean, and looking forward to when they eventually take place. Thank you.
It'll be wonderful if SABC can be there and see the stars. I'm seeing this with the hugest smile that you can possibly imagine.
Hopefully we'll be able to be there. Thank you so much for talking to us this afternoon. That was activist and former Constitutional Court Justice Albie Sachs.